Good morning. Welcome to this class. This is the Science Humanity class. Today is the sixth week and the second class on the topic of human nature and behaviorism. And following previous on today's class about what the modernity, and then we would like to change. Supposing we are very difficult to change our habit and other action and behavior depending on our definitions between behavior and actions based on selections. And then following those topic we discussed on Tuesday with the modernity. So we'd like to change how we change our behavior and even nature of a human being. So then we discuss about the human nature from the perspective of psychology. And we extend those idea and discussion into behaviorism, one of the psychology area. Everything we would like to change our society because we have problems of pandemic. Somebody you believe those everything's from nature, but most of you believe those pandemic with coronavirus maybe from our anthropogenic activities. So then we'd like to change based on our human selection, human behavior. That's why we select this issue. So before we coming back to those topics, I'd like to ask you once again. Some of you already log in, I believe, but if you didn't yet register, so please do the steps to log in. Please log in this site of unist.luas.kr, and your address once again already registers. The previously I told different the password, but the password should be 1234 QWER. And once log in, you can change. You can switch the password for your privacy and secrecy. And then, but when you're changing your password, please use more than five digits of a number and combination of number and words itself, and it doesn't matter depending on your preference. And then today you are asked to evaluate my presentations. You selected by selecting one of four options among possible matter, idea, and the logics. So those are the four categories I already told you from the category of a concept in Immanuel Kant's book of Critics of Pure Reason. Then we don't necessarily follow his the category, but it's reasonable to follow his guideline to evaluate our categorical concepts. So when we mutually evaluated each other in this class between us and other things as well, such as a seminar and other classes and reading groups and evaluating the project without any ranking. So I prefer we evaluate and cheer other person up with without ranking, with more likely promotions, concealment and acknowledgement and agreement, sometimes being involving. So those evaluation strategy from my side as a teacher, as a lecturer, prefer to select a different way to evaluate each other instead of giving you some kind of the ranking systems. So then we already discussed the education system with the different sign, right? So we've been developing our economic system using some kind of a course and a subsequent program with a sign of sort of the distinct signal and sign. What is it? So we already discussed in system sections 2 weeks ago, which includes a sign of grade, such as A, B, C, D, and F, and a degree, the PhD degree, so bachelor's degrees, engineering degree, business degree. And so rather than those, the degree and kind of a discriminations, sometimes alienation from the other groups. So with identity, they would like to call, but I would like to introduce into our society special education system with a different sign without any ranking. So then this is only test. So please understand, under COVID crisis, then we have to use these types of online class. Then I'd like to test as many alternative ways as possible to help you, to help me as a teacher and students. So that's why I already asked you to test my other tools of Street Smart. But from today, together with Street Smart, we bring another tools to evaluate each other. So with this, so that's I call that as signism evaluations. Signism, so only sign. So there is no contents. So with the app of Street Smart, there are a lot of contents to be loaded by yourself and by myself, and then we exchange some kind of pinning, and then we after the classes, and then we refer to our activity based on material, based on our discussions, based on question and answers with the pinning, to be guided by which we can get to that after class. So but this the signism evaluation help us, I believe, to select or to evaluate mutually, so that we can have some kind of identity of individuality out of this class. And then after this class, you have a certain different transcript of evaluation, then show other person to give them some kind of a different certificate over your identity, over your capability to contribute to other person, to other society. That's my purpose. That's my purpose. Please understand that. So any person have difficulties to log in. One students already emailed me regarding problem you have to log in. Other person have any problem, please let me know. Please let me know. So everyone, actually.
I have a problem.
Okay. Is it?
I have a problem too.
Okay, so then after, okay, let me show. Okay, could you check? If your email has 0 or O, then try to the other one. 혹시 이메일에 0 아니면 O, 영어로 O가 있으면 한번 다르게 시도를 해봐 주시면 좋겠어요. Okay? So please do again. If you still have a problem from your ID, and please let me know.
교수님,
네,
저 오늘 아침에 메일 드렸었는데요.
네.
그
여전히 안 돼요?
0을 O랑 O로 그 대문자 O랑 소문자 O로 바꿔서도 시도해봤는데
네.
아직도 로그인이 안 되는 것
아,
같습니다.
예.
저도 안 됩니다.
예. 이 안 되는 분들은 저한테 이메일로 좀 남겨주시면 끝난 다음에 제가 개발자하고 다시 이렇게 얘기를 해서 다시 확인해서 확인한 다음에 답장을 드리도록 할게요. 우선 이게 좀 여러 가지 문제들 개발 단계에서 급히 테스트를 하다 보니까 여러분이 직접 로그인 할 수 있는 것들을 아직 만들지 못해서 이런 방법을 택하게 돼서 미안하고요. 우선 사과를 드리고 지금 개발 중에 있어서 우선 문제도 풀 거지만 여러분이 직접 로그인 할 수 있는 것도 곧 갖춰질 겁니다. 그게 이제 프라이버시라든지 여러 가지 문제 때문에 그렇게 됐는데요. 네. If you have still problem, please send your email with your ID. Do you think it is? So then I will check with after this class with the developer, and then reply to you with a solution. Okay, so apologize for any inconvenience with this one. So please understand. So I'm going test as many tools to help our class as possible. And the secondary, I already told you. So I have a certain purpose to overcome the class system with the ranking. Okay, grade and ranking. So then there might be, or there cannot be, and there must not be. But I want to try, okay, to evaluate you in different way, to promote you, to cheer you up with different result, different evaluation method. So that's my purpose, and please understand that. Okay, so so the same the project. Here is a project of our class. Then you click this one, and there is topic. So in each class, I will make a topic about this with the date and the topic of this one, which is today. Then you click this one. You click this one, and there is evaluation registration. So then you click this one and click this item, and there are many different all the member actually of this class. So you select. So for example, I presented my ID is professor. Okay, professor. So then you click the professor to evaluate myself. But after midterm examination, for example, this students present right now. If this student present right now, KTY 3578 at unist.ac.kr, and then you click this one to give him or her evaluation of yours. And when you feel his or her presentation has possibility, you select possible. If you believe some kind of rather than logics, a lot of logics, reasons, all these from Kant's category, I already told you, logic, and you click this one. If you believe his or her presentation with his or her midterm examination has very good idea, then you select this one, idea. And the presentation matter means has a significance of importance. If you think it is very important, it matters to you, and then you select the matters. And then you actually identify the result of evaluation. How much you receive, how much you actually present, give. So then after this the class, and this ends, if it ends, so then you only have a table of evaluation. Then you have a screenshot and give me your final evaluation data, evaluation table, so that I can evaluate you based on those evaluation. So after this class, after this semester, you have a big table under different topic, different evaluations. Then from mutual evaluation between peers, which are students, you have the big table of these types of evaluation result, and then show other person based on this one. Then under certain topic, you may be very logical. On the different topic, you have an idea based on evaluation from your peers and your colleagues and your students. And sometimes you matter to other persons based on your presentation, based on your participation, right? And after semester, under your name, you have all these table from different subject, including mathematics, including philosophy, including organic chemistry, for example. Then you have a transcript, 성적표, transcript of having A or B or C or even F. And then you have another transcript of these types of that with the possible logical idea and matters. So then some company would like to recruit students from UNIST. They may demand this types of table on the specific topic. They would like to refer to certain the project that they would like to develop in next year on the pandemic situation, for example. And then they demand a certain the people who are major in chemistry based or business or chemical engineering, but they would like to recruit the person and the students having capability to have logical on the specific topic. So that's they refer to this table. I believe, so that's we are testing right now. So no other person, no other country, no other university testing this one. So I'm not saying the first time testing is very important. I don't think so, but at least we can try. So please understand and give me your comment. So this is very important, I believe, a challenge in class and education systems. So we are doing science and humanity. Do you remember why we selected this class? So we have a various different regions, motivations from teacher, from students, but so no other university conducting these types of challenges. So that's my purpose. So please understand that. Okay, thank you for your participation of this one. So I agree. I agree. This some kind of sometimes weird to you, so bother you very much. But so please enjoy it. So with your grade, and I consider together with you after this the semester, after midterm examination, the final examination and the final project and your presentation. So we have a material from examination and presentation and mutual evaluation table and participation from Street Smart, and then we come together between you and me, and to choose your grade, the final grade. So that's the challenge, I believe. Might not work, so I hope it works. Okay, so thank you for your understanding and participation. Any question about this evaluation system? So of course the university invest, but they didn't designate a certain area to be invested by a professor. But I invest those money into this development of platform where we can try our evaluation and participation. Okay. So today, last time on Tuesday class, I already told you we are at the topic of a society and human. Society, we would like to change our society because our society under pandemic crisis, pandemic risky situations, we have a problem. Okay, we have a problem, then we would like to solve through changing society, preferentially changing ourselves as well. But so we understand, or we know already, it is not easy. It feels almost impossible to change the society and individuality of mind. Okay, so then I'd like to bring other concept of modernity, because we are living in the modernity, and I'd like to understand more and in detail the concept of modernity. What could be modernity? So are we in a modern society? What is modernity? That's my first question. And the second question is, what is human nature? Because we would like to change human. So individuality and a collective human so-called society. So we are discussing this one. In modern society, there are two different poles, two different axes. So one extreme end we have a nature, the other extreme we have a human, right? So once we have a phenomena, once we have a problem, once we have certain events, and then we are subject to translate those into two different poles, two different dimensions, two different axes, into nature as opposed to human as opposed to nature, but actually not. So make us confused with those segregations, with the concept, with the knowledge, with interpretation, with understanding, of course. That's why a lot of our ancestors, a lot of scholar, the philosopher, even scientists, they've been trying to solve and purify those confusion contaminated from segregation into two different axes, two different dimensions of nature and human. The first one, Kant. So we never been deeply in the conceptual knowledge of Kant, but Kant, we know he is father of philosophy in modern times, right? Immanuel Kant, and then he stressed very much on the human idea, human reason. And once he selected the human and the reason, there should be some kind of outside the human, which is object. So we have a subject and object, then a segregation between two. So we have this controversial discussion in Korea, long time ago, in Lee dynasty, between Yi Hwang and Yi, Yulgok and Taege. So we know that. So Taege, for examples, Taege, so he stressed the monism types of that. But Yulgok, the other scholar in Lee dynasty, long time ago, under Confucian discussion, Confucian scholar, so dualisms. The dualism means we have a nature and human. But monism insists there is only one. Okay, there is no segregation between nature and human, subject and object. So the Kant actually separate in a robust way to purify our thinking method contaminated with the segregations. But he acknowledged and accept and spread in a deeper discussion into through discourse with a different concept. And Hegel and other persons, so they use a different way, okay, so phenomenologically sometimes, but more likely, so in a modern society, we have postmodernisms. What could be? What was postmodernism from our Tuesday class? We actually purify through translating every phenomena, every the concept into infinitesimal element. With which, so we don't have any segregation between object and subject, between nature and human, because it is too small, infinitesimally. We cannot almost measure, for example, DNA. So with the DNA, we cannot see, but we know the presence of DNA in biological research in science. And then we use a DNA concept. So there is no nature, there is no human at all. So DNA is a DNA. And the other side in physics, we have a nanoparticle, the picoparticle. And then we separate every the material into nano size, even lower size of the material. There is no segregation between nature and human. But combining everything into one object, we can translate. So that's the postmodernism. But beyond the postmodernisms, so we have a metamodernisms. Right now in digital society, we are trying to get adequate, subsequent, the belief in theory, to look at the world through nature and through some kind of a perspective beyond the nature and human. So that's the theory from the book, the titled "We Have Never Been a Modern," written by Latour, right? So today I would like to discuss with you about the human nature. As I already told you, so we have a problem in society. So to solve this the problem of society, so the first things that we can take is to try to change individual as a human being. But individual human being is even worse to change. So somebody said, especially psychologists believe it is not possible to change individual and human. I'm not sure you agree. So do you think you can change in nature of a human being, or your character, your even habit? Do you think you can change your things by your will, your willingness to change? What do you think? But so I'm not sure, but the psychologists, most psychologists, to my knowledge, believe it is almost impossible to change human being. Okay, so please look at your parents. I'm not sure you have children, but probably not. But if I look at my children, my friend, my parents, do you think they change? So this is very tough question still, but the fear, it is almost impossible. So how we actually change our society? How we change our society? With our understanding, we are almost impossible to change individual. How we change our society? That's the questions from the psychology and sociologists. That's the topic of this class, of this week topic. Okay, so then we can select either a science and understanding with the human nature. So psychologist Alfred Adler, he wrote the book titled Understanding Human Nature in 1927. Why we selected this the textbook instead of a new published book? Do you know why? So I have a pretty recently published book, but Alfred Adler is almost the first generation of a psychologist. I already told you that he studied with the certain society. So he actually operated a Thursday class in his country. So every Thursday he invited all the psychologists into his home. So one of the visitor, one of the guest was the Freud. Okay, so that much Alfred Adler is very famous at that time. Still, he influenced a lot of other psychologists, even other areas such as sociologists and philosophers. So recently we have a very the famous book even in Korea, translated in Korean. I try to remember the book. How can I forget? Okay. So Alfred Adler, so the much famous book. Something. So I don't have that book, but I look at those books from TV discussion sections of a book. Okay, so please look at Alfred Adler is that much very important scholar in psychology. So he said many different things. I summarized those one based on my reading. So you can read the different lines between the lines. So then I would like to show a couple of sentences. Academic scientists group need exclusive property, but human nature cannot be studied in that way, he said. So he said also it is almost not possible. It is not possible to change behavior pattern over their childhood, even under entire different situations. And science of the human nature is to be thought of as an art, even art, not a science, as art, so which has many instruments at its disposal. So based on this one, so we can understand what is said with the human nature is, so human is very difficult to be changed even under certain circumstances, certain the conditions, because every behavior patterns are already decided from his or her childhood the period. After that, even he or she try to change his or her the behavior pattern is almost impossible. So there might be science attempt to change or to study the human behavior, but it is very difficult. It's very tough. So he suggests instead of a science, as an art, even art, suggest what? understanding is more important. How we, based on his supposition, based on his insist, understand the human nature? Do you think you understand your own human nature? What person you are, what person I am, what person we are. So please think about for a second what person you are actually, with a specific identity or a distinct human nature, character. Do you think you understand your character, your nature? So based on Alfred Adler, Professor Alfred Adler, it is almost impossible to recognize it. But once we recognize and identify our character and human nature, then that's the start of our change in our society. So the Tuesday class I already told you. So the top purpose of a human being is happiness. I already told you. How about the society? Survival, right? So our society and our species, human nature as the Homo sapiens, long time ago, Neanderthal went extinct. So we would like to still try to survive under this severe, harsh condition and environment of the world. But to be human, to be a surviving, progressive the species in this world, in this the nature, in this environment, we would like to survive. Then we would like to be happy. What's the conditions to be happy? The first things, we have to know our character, our human nature. We need to recognize ourselves. That's the first step. What could be the second step? What could be a second step? We have to be, or we can feel, we can contribute to our society. That's the second conditions. So first thing, we have to know ourselves, and second, we have to contribute to other persons, so-called society. Then we can change the society proposed by Alfred Adler. Okay, and with the human, so more specifically and detail to go in deeper side of that. Why does a person not change his behavior pattern? So if you'd like to change yourself, if I would like to change my behavior pattern, why is it difficult? Sometimes almost impossible. So we actually difficult to know ourselves. So based on Alfred Adler. So then, how we understand, instead of science to study individual character of individuality or society levels, instead of that, then we had better understand the human nature. For that, we must give a new system of thought, indicate another pattern in which where the social feeling and communal consciousness, the play an important role. Okay, and then, so with that, we have to understand our cosmos we live in. So there are important facts you deserve to know with this fact. Please read this one. I will read it for you. And children having come into the world with the defects. From his book, Alfred Adler. 열등감에 관한 책이 계속 그 책이 제목이 안 나서 미안합니다. 열등감에 관한 책이었는데 예. 어쨌든 제가 다시 알려드릴게요. With the fact in their eyes, attempt to translate the entire world into more intensive visual concept. Please read this sentence a few times more. If you have a certain defect in your eye, then you more likely to focus on that visual concept. If you have a problem with your eye, if you have a problem with your ear, if you have a problem with your muscle, if you have a problem with a certain part of your body or your brain, and then that actually defect or inability so allow us to be more focused on that area to overcome, I believe. So if you have a problem with the eye, so you have a bad eye sight, and then you more likely to focus on that area even, instead of developing other capability based on sense, based on the other sense, then you actually you're addicted to develop those areas. So I'm not talking about, I don't believe the Professor Alfred Adler, so derive a certain demerit of these types of addictions, but that's the human nature. So if you have a problem with the auditory, then you can have a more or preferential attempt to increase your musical ability. If you have some kind of a defect in the musculate, so then you would like to overcome through restlessness effort with the muscle, which has some kind of a defect. So that everything, so we have to understand this one in terms of perceptions. We perceive our world where we live. So you perceive a certain the visual, then we establish the visual appearance of yourself and ourselves. If you ever hear a certain sound, with that sound, we establish our character and identity based on those the hearing. Everything those we define as a perceptible world. So if you perceive, then you establish your perception. Once you establish your perception, then you establish your character and identity based on those perceptions. Perceptions is actually the based on sense and everything you have right now. The based on those experience, based on your senses through perception, then you can make your own identity and character and human nature. And then once you show this one to the world surrounding yourself, then you have a problem. Then you have to come back to this perception instead of fighting the world. That's the actually supposition and assertion suggested by Professor Adler. Otherwise, it is almost impossible to change the human nature. Okay, perception is that much important. So generally in general, the person pretend or have a habit to accept the knowledge to change their character, subsequently the surrounding environment, and finally world, but actually not, he said. So we have to be based on our perceptive experience. And then if we have a problem, then we have to come back to our perception, because our cosmos is actually what we perceive. Otherwise, there is no world at all. So that much in a psychological world, perception is very important. Then we have a knowledge. Then we have a perception, then the concept and idea. Without perception, there is no knowledge at all. If a problem, then we have to come back to our perception based on sense. That's the message from psychologist Professor Alfred Adler. Okay, so individualities consist in what and how he perceives. Perception provide memory to purpose. Based on perception, then we can have memory, we can have a knowledge, we can have a forgetfulness, we can have a purpose and desire goal. Without perception, there's no other things at all. So imagination is we produce the perception. Perception is everything, based on his book. Okay, so imagine and imagination. Perception is very important, but your imagination to design or to have a vision toward the future, toward your goal in the future after graduations, should be based on perception and memory. But here we have to be careful about certain things about the imagination. If you have imagination without object, or the false object, or imaginary or virtual, and then you can have hallucination and illusion and even fantasy. Imagination is very important, but should be based on your perceived memory. Okay, so imagination can occur even without the object, but the virtual, those subsequent virtual objects should be based on your memory, which based on your actual perception with the real object. But without those real object based on your perception and memory, then you can have hallucinations. So a lot of person in psychology, they study these hallucinations. The patient suffering from dementia, the Alzheimer, they have a lot of hallucination reality. They actually touch something, they feel like real reality, but actually not, which is hallucinations, without any object based on perceptions. So in psychology area, this is very important area, I believe, but we are not a psychology. So we are not at the psychology class. Instead, we have to have a certain possibility to change our society. To change our society, we place ourselves on the ground of perception, and subsequent memory to get right imaginations. Okay. So he concluded his the book, and if being able to understand one another, based on what? Based on your perception, and then you can understand the other person. So once you understand the one another, it would be impossible for them to disappoint and deceive each other. So through empathy. So if you have a perception, finally you know yourself, and then you extend the understanding of yourself into other persons. Okay, that's the to bring us into the concept of society. The empathy is involuntary defense mechanisms, he said. Okay. So we come back to our first two questions, society and human. It is very difficult to change. So we touch the two different areas. The first one, modernity, the concept, and secondary, psychology, through perception. So to understand the society and individual human, which one is important? The first thing, we have to understand human nature instead of study as a science the human nature. With that, we have to understand ourselves and world. The first ourselves, we consist in what? What you perceive, right? What you perceive. So based on those perception of ourselves, based on our senses, then we can extend it to other persons through empathy. And then we comprise of a society. With the society, we can communicate to change our world, finally. So with that, the modern society, we have to understand the Bruno Latour help us, modernity have two different forms, then we would like to overcome the first nature, first human. And the secondly, from a psychology effort, from Alfred Adler, so we would like to understand instead of a study in many different ways. Human nature, what was it? Based on what? Our experience with the senses, with the perception. With those, we can have imaginations for the future. Then we can announce a new society with the paradigm being shifted. Okay. Any questions about this one? So why we are doing this one? So let me summarize again. So we start our class in this semester. So we have a problem right now where, of course, ourselves and society, we have a problem, right? Then we would like to change. So then we have to understand the human, we have to understand the society. Then the human-wise, we touched truth. Why we touch the truth? Because truth is what we believe based on fact. The secondary, to understand we are human, then we would like to discourse and discuss about care and concern. The care means we are curiosity, we are affections, we are interested in each other. Of course, we interested in ourselves. So we care because we are human. Otherwise, we are not human at all. Robot care, AI care, no. They are programmed. We are not programmed. We care each other in natural way. That's the nature of a human, right? And then we concern. So after what we care, then we concern to touch, to be involved, actually, to change our society, to change myself, yourself. And then we concern, right? So refer to. And then, so to concern, we need a certain mechanisms. So we bring communication. So we communicate to concern, because we believe only communication can change our connectivity, because we are living in a super connected and hyper connected society under digital times. So only communication can change us. Only communication can change us. To do communication, we need what? We need to code and program. So that's why we touch the program and code with the communication theory. So then we need some kind of a sign. For example, language is a sign, money is a sign. So then with those signs, then we can change our society through communications. Okay. So then the risk situations. So when communicating, we encounter from time to time, very often the risk situation. Risk is nothing but selections. So I would like to emphasize. So what the risk is. On the risk situation is different from situation with a danger. Danger from nature, danger from some kind of a catastrophic situation. We do not have any selections. We cannot choose at all. But risky situation, we can change. We can select. So that's the risky, and then bring us into and this week, human nature and society. Okay, so we are going to change our society and human in a systematic way. So for example, economic, education, and the law, and science even. Okay, here is a participation. If you want to change both your bad habit and behavior pattern, what do you think is the best way? Of course, this is not simple. This is more likely complicated and complex as well. But please, intuitively, what could be your best way to change your bad habit if you have, or your behavior pattern? Please, in your app, the Street Smart, please write down your answer, you believe the best way.